because that's his comfort, and he's going to have his tail up after that last win.
Yeah, well, there's one of them that you're not going to see, because Caitlyn is in fact the first ban here for Energy Pacemaker, and that is an interesting one to take off the board first.
Maybe it's all about getting onto STYZ's case right here. It's those two champions showing the most impact on. I mean, we saw Uzi's Caitlyn last week, was disgusting in lane. Of course, there's so much harassment potential, and anyone who's able to use Caitlyn to that next level, not just be about securing the CS victory, but ensuring that you have a huge CS discrepancy from your ability to harass in lane, just ban it away, because it's one less thing for Kane to worry about. That veteran in the bottom lane, he's probably faced STYZ's Caitlyn a few times over the years. He's been with the EP organization such a long time. Makes sense to say, all right, I don't trust myself in this lane, just ban it away.
Yeah, do you think that they're just going to focus out STYZ here? Do you think that there could be potentially an Ezreal ban coming through here as well, because STYZ showed so much promise on that one as well?
I can say that if we see another AD carry ban, and we actually saw this in an earlier series, I believe last week, some of those fourth rotation picks are going to be very interesting. Once you have Caitlyn coming into the ban pool, you know that there's going to be the likes of the Gnar, the Lissandra, not the Janna, as we said that banned here, but there's going to be a lot of champions, and Corki's actually banned here by World Elite. So I think the flavor of picks in, say, the third and fourth rotations is going to be so amazing.
Yeah, and you can see that that's definitely aimed against Kane. Kane having some of his most impressive performances on that Corki, but like you mentioned, that's going to leave so many power picks up. Jarvan rings a bell. The likes of Lissandra also being up, and Gnar hasn't hit the ban table as well, and that is something that Aluka's been very comfortable on, and we might see sort of that fabled Narvan combo. Not seeing as much success here in China, but across the world has been fantastic. But Amazing J, of course, not going to have any problem locking in that Jarvan for either the jungle or his top lane.
It's almost like they've done their research and they say, all right, Spirit's shown the most on this Jarvan. And Jarvan, you can say, let's assume there is a communication issue. Of course, we don't know for sure, but let's assume there are communication issues, teething problems for World Elite. When Jarvan initiates, you know exactly what's happening. It's kind of like in solo queue, Malphite was always the go-to pick, because all right, if he initiates, you don't need voice chat to be able to communicate how much engage is coming there. Jarvan's much the same. He shouts out the Cataclysm. You know exactly what's capping right there. So now they're taking away that really obvious linear engage, that strong ganking pressure, and saying, all right, what else do you have in your belt? Of course, it is the Lee Sin, which has traditionally been a strong Spirit champion, but he struggled on Lee Sin earlier in the split. It's a little bit less comfort for Spirit.
Yeah, but from Energy Pacemaker, we do have the Gnar and Jarvan combination coming down. Raphael actually looking at this Yasuo, and Aluka not deciding to go with that Gnar for the fourth time in a row, has locked in that Rumble there for the top side. And we've seen Aluka play these tanks to relative effectiveness, but haven't really seen him go off on this Rumble that he's tried a couple of times.
And you mentioned that they've been consistently picking up the Gnar, so they've probably been thinking about the limits of that champion, how it works with their synergy. Maybe they've decided it's not the champion for them. Rumble has such a high win rate across the regions here. Over 70%, I believe, at least as of last week, was the Rumble win rate in competitive. So there's a lot of potential right there. And importantly for Aluka, someone's been struggling to really win lane. It's a champion that can do a lot with a very low amount of items. You only need about 2,500 gold to get that double magic penetration, to have the magnificent equalizer come through. And the line damage from Rumble with the CC coming up from this Braum pick could be really powerful.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You could almost Dragon Rage kick someone along that line and really do some damage there. But STYZ also locking in this Graves here as well, so a lot of mid-game power and a lot of burst potential coming through from the AD side. And you pair that with an equalizer put in the right position, these Dragon fights could be explosive for World Elite.
I mean, it's a lot of AoE damage coming out here. Of course, Graves has that instant buckshot into collateral damage that belies his short range. Obviously, you think of Graves as a short range carry. So much long range damage coming out from Graves right here. He also had to blind pick his AD carry in this situation. They left him a blind pick AD carry. Graves is very capable in a lot of lanes. Only really Caitlyn can harass him out of lane consistently. Caitlyn's on the ban list, so why not pick that Graves?
Certainly may as well pick that one up, but the response is going to be Sivir and Syndra as well coming through from Energy Pacemaker, and their lineup is looking terrifying, especially in that CC department. And if anyone gets picked off by Raphael here in the mid lane on this Syndra, you have to say it's going to be really hard for World Elite to get that team fight that they really want.
It's a really strong rotational play from EP, coupled with all the team fight wombo there. But you have to, there's a lot of answers on World Elite side, particularly the Braum here could be doing so much work with all the shielding and disengage he has right here. They've committed to the Xerath last pick, of course, very in the wheelhouse of Ninja as Xerath here. They have a lot of AoE magic damage, but the pick potential in the mid game has to be passed over to EP. They've definitely picked the proactive comp, and World Elite have kind of responded with a very reactive team that could potentially outscale EP, but how many times have we said that so far in the LPL? Okay, in the late game, this team might take it. There's not been a late game that many times, Atlas.
No, well, that's the thing, and really getting these leads early, getting that dragon snowball happening is what our LPL teams have really been using to get their advantages, and they are not scared to go in and really finish these games off early, and going for that late game is a very, very dangerous prospect.
Well, in the past, it would be all about picking up your advantages in the mid-game for a mid-game comp, trying to take that inhibitor, and look, if they had great wave clear on the enemy side, all right, you can't push that inhibitor, the game gets delayed out, suddenly Tristana with 3 to 4 items and the fights change. The difference now, patch 4.21 and subsequent patches, you've got that whole new dragon buff. The fact that you can pick up 3-4 stacks, put yourself in prime position for what is effective like hacks. That 5th stack does feel a bit like hacks. It's so many statistics, 12% AD and AP, movement speed, damage. There's so many buffs, true damage on your autos and single target spells. So many buffs come out from that buff that it makes a mid-game team relevant in the late game. So if you can take that control, you can still take it late.
Yep, but we'll get onto the Rift and see what happens. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Energy Pacemaker taking on World Elite. Energy Pacemaker on our blue side, just fanning out towards the river, and World Elite doing the same thing from the red. And we'll see whether Energy Pacemaker can get the early lead that they need in order to get themselves into this one, because these early fights are going to be terrifying on their side.
See, very aggressive posturing coming out from World Elite. 3 stacked on this brush right here. They're either looking for an invade for vision, or maybe they even want to claim a buff.
Seems like they want to do some sort of funny business with Amazing J all the way up there on the top side of the map. They definitely have a numbers advantage, and Shu does get caught by the winner's bite there just for one moment, but oh, it's a decent play to get him back. Couple of extra procs on that passive for a stun, but he's going to be okay.
Definitely looks like an invasion for vision here. They get in vision on the red buff. They have vision on the Raptor camp right here. They have complete vision on this bottom side jungle. I guess they're maybe looking for the 1v2 lane just because they don't really want to opt into having a Luca 1v1 a Gnar. It's not really the most fun laning matchup for a Rumble right there, but we've seen it to some success. So there's a lot of potential for options for World Elite, and if you invade, get that vision, at least you're able to have complete information, so you're able to commit to something one way or the other.
Yeah, and we could see the fact that Energy Pacemaker wasted no time heading straight into that red side jungle, getting their own wards out so that they can scout for the potential lane swap that could be coming in. And as we look towards that situation, who does benefit more from this lane swap that could be coming in?
I like the Rumble in a 1v2. He has a bit more options. He's not committing to really dealing with that ranged harass coming out from Gnar and really struggling in that 1v1 lane. I'd expect them to elect to have the Rumble 1v2, so they'll opt into the lane swap World Elite, but they do have options if they do commit to the 1v1.
Yeah, and we'll see whether it is going to benefit Kayn here on this Sivir. Of course, you think about Sivir, you think of pushing power, but you could imagine that 1v1 potential, I mean, the true grit coming from Graves, allowing him to trade so effectively there on the bottom side of the map, has to mean that things could be going a little bit better for World Elite in the early stages, but we'll see what does happen, as it looks like we might actually just be going into standard lanes.
It is looking like standard lanes so far. Rumble does go up the top lane. They have this vision of the bot side jungle, so they have a fairly good idea of what side the junglers are starting on, and thus which lane the laners will go into. But the 1v1 and standard lanes, actually not so standard for the LPL so far this season.
Yeah, exactly.
But 2v2 on the bot lane and 1v1 up top.
Yeah, and 80 carry and support as well in a 2v2 seems a bit interesting. Of course, it has been top laner and support coming through a few times. Of course, Lupa making use of that one in our last series. But as we can see now, a mid lane mage off with Raphael wanting to get into the face of Ninja, but Ninja pretty able to farm from a fair way back.
Look, Syndra has a lot of potential assassination power on Xerath right here, but Ninja's such an experienced Xerath player that I imagine he's going to stay back, hang back, be happy to be denied a bit of CS just to hit that power spike. The big power spike for Xerath from what we've seen is that first CDR item, for example, the Morellonomicon, into the needlessly large rod. Because when he gets that big secondary AP item, he's able to instantly wave clear and be so important in the mid game for pushing out waves and denying the opportunity for the enemy team to have so much space to invade and get down wards. So I expect the Xerath to be happy to be denied early, especially in the jungle matchup with such a strong ganking jungler like Jarvan, and just set himself up for the mid to late game.
Yeah, and we can see Spirit starting off very early with an invade here. Is actually going to go over to these Raptors as well, clear them out. Drizzle very low on health, although he does have a level advantage. We can see Spirit might actually be able to start with a 3 buff.
He's at least putting lots of questions in the mind of Drizzle right here. He's getting in his face, getting in his jungle, aggressively warding, and basically saying, look, I'm the one playing proactive, don't try any funny business. And the advantage there is the psychology behind it. Even though they're both very strong skirmish junglers, it instantly puts Spirit on the front foot and Drizzle on the back foot.
Yeah, well, precisely. And only having a blue buff, needing that red to be able to do some successful ganking early on in this game. Of course, Jarvan does have a bit of CC at his disposal, but does like to be able to have that red buff in order to secure these kills in the early game and see whether it does put him behind, because of course there's the experience to talk about as well.
Yeah, this is a significant experience disadvantage, and it will mean that he just can't show his face around lanes as much because he'll just have such lower base stats that if he ever misses the EQ or it's flashed, the enemy team will be able to turn on him and DPS him down very quickly. So it's a smart invade coming out from Spirit, and not something that we've seen WE do in the first 4 weeks. It's something new, it's another strategic adaptation, and at least sets them up for a more comfortable mid-game.
Yeah, and it's a solo invade coming through here as well, as Drizzle is actually going to get spotted out by the little wolf scout. And Spirit is going to head towards the middle lane side, but he is staying very aggressively in the enemy jungle, as you can see, walking into this river, looking to potentially pick up that scuttle crab and maybe make his presence known top lane.
But at this point, with only one major buff, he really needs his gank to come off in the mid lane here, does Drizzle. We watch him, he's waiting very patiently for Ninja to push out, but Drizzle's problem is that he's lost a buff, then he's tried to get a secondary buff from the other side, and because of the early wards, there's no buff for him to take right there. So he's been 3-buffed effectively, and now he's losing more and more resources and more time, getting no more experience.
Yeah, and there's the fact that Spirit knew exactly where he was. Of course, they had that little scout to check him in the bottom side jungle, so he's just left his red buff up and can go and pick that one up whenever he feels like.
It's really hard to communicate how much of a strategic win Spirit and World Elite have managed to push off in the first 5 minutes here. He's going to go pick up this red buff eventually, be so close to level 5, whereas Jarvan's basically an emergency situation. He doesn't even have half of level 3 completed right here. This Jarvan could be completely irrelevant at the first dragon fight, and with a Sivir comp, you almost never say that.
No, well, exactly right. And Drizzle sort of looks a little bit like he has no idea what to do at this stage. I mean, hanging around, maybe waiting for Lee Sin to come down, but you can see he's just falling further and further behind his shoot, looking for a potential death sentence here on the bottom side, and Drizzle coming in to try and make something happen. SDYZ might get caught out. It's a decent quick draw to get him to safety. Ooh, and a very nice boomerang for the double tap.
Up top, we have to compliment Aluka here. He's actually even in CS in a very tough laning matchup for Rumble. And he's doing just fine in the top lane with no jungle pressure whatsoever. Spirit's going to go pick up this red buff right here. Significant experience advantage picked up for Spirit. Whether he can translate that into laning pressure is something that we'll have to wait and see, as that's the next step after this really important jungle masterclass he started to put on with the 3 buff.
Yeah, and we'll see whether it is going to be aggressive movements to come through from Energy Pacemaker, or whether they're going to respect the fact that this Lee Sin is so far ahead, as Aluka is pushing out very, very far. And he knows, I mean, this Jarvan, so far behind, he can just push relentlessly.
Absolutely. They can push relentlessly and know that Lee Sin is going to be able to contest at any buff and come up with the advantage right here. Level 5 now is Spirit. You see Drizzle is really reticent to go to any camp, and very smart pink ward actually comes out in the brush next to the blue outer turret in the mid lane. They have so much vision of all of Jarvan's movements around the map.
Yeah, and they're going for a potential dive here on the top side. Ninja's made his way around as well. Spotted out by a ward, but there's the stun onto Drizzle. Forced to use that flash and the flag and drag. Spirit's here, though. There's the Rite of the Arcane, and first blood to Spirit.
I mean, Spirit exploded Drizzle between the magic damage coming out from Ninja. It feels like the ultimate from Rumble was just icing on the cake right there. Just no base stat. So squishy is this level 4 Jarvan.
Yeah, nothing he could do at that stage. Only had a longsword to his name, so hasn't started to become tanky at all. And Drizzle's just getting schooled in his jungle. And you can see, look at all of the vision around here for World Elite. And this is what we were expecting when we heard that Spirit was coming onto this roster, is extra extended vision here in the early stages of the game. He doesn't even have a Sightstone, and that is so many wards there.
But it's worth noting that his team is playing around his aggression here. For once, Aluka was the first one rotating and getting the equalizer in before Amazing J could react to that. So his top lane is reacting fast, his mid laner was coming in, and despite the language barrier between the players, they're starting to play more and more like a team. In week 1, it was all about Spirit making moves on Riven, doing things on his own, the rest of the team split away. They didn't look like there was much communication between the players, but it's starting to come into the lineup right here, and maybe the players are starting to mature into a team.
Yeah, and there's a bit more trust here from the team as well. I mean, you were talking about the fact that it picked up that Riven, wanted to carry as well. Now, of course, trusting his team to carry a little bit more themselves.
Yeah, it's all a feeling out process when you're on a new team. You're trying to work out the advantages and disadvantages and basically where the points of power were. You could tell World Elite, they just weren't confident in their soul laners. They didn't think that Ninja or Aluka could truly carry. That's why they put so much of an extra burden onto Spirit. The difference here is that Ninja and Aluka are starting to step up, especially Ninja last week. Looked excellent on Azir in a couple of games right there.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're just trying to develop their champion pools, work out what's a winning matchup for each of these people, and try and translate that into series wins. Look, it's a great early game for World Elite, but so much to go, and we're only talking about an 800 gold lead at 9 minutes.
Yeah, and we'll see whether Raphael can utilize his Comfort Syndra pick as well. Of course, seen him on this one before. We'll see whether he can get that sort of level 6 execution and get Energy Pacemaker back into this game after what was sort of a horrible start purely coming from that jungle. We
have to compliment Raphael, though. He's up in CS significantly, 16 CS, despite basically having little to no jungle pressure, with Drizzle being so far behind. So he's outlaning Ninja extensively. We did expect an advantage, but we were more thinking in terms of equal. But Spirit, he's not stopping this counter jungling.
A little bit of a swapsies there coming through as UJ might be a little bit caught out, but does have that Glacial Fissure. Look at the damage coming through from just the support and jungler. STYZ comes around. There's a collateral damage. Right of the Arcane Forces a flash out of Shoe. Spirit's going down very low. Raphael's here as well, though. The teleports to come through from our top laners. Oh my goodness, so much damage onto Rumble, but doesn't quite go down. The stun is going to go wide there onto Raphael, forcing the flash out of Ninja, and he's going to be okay, but a decent trade coming through from EP. They'll probably take it.
Yeah, the rotation from Gnar and Amazing J was wonderful there. They had a very good ward to teleport to. The Gnar was amazing in that fight, especially the wallop coming through. The CC got them the kills. It's a 2-for-1 trade, which is massive. And you have to say, Spirit, he held onto his kick a long time there. He thought he would get a second exit kill before World Elite had to back away. He didn't. He had that cooldown for too long and paid the price.
Yeah, and Aluka almost dying to that unleashed power as well. You could imagine that would turn it around as we see this one again.
So, I mean, Spirit just wants to take the second red buff on spawn. He had the exact timer right there. You notice the swap seizes, of course, with the 2 W abilities getting out of play. But they decided to re-engage here because they know that Graves is going to be reacting very, very fast to this. He gets the collateral damage and they get the first kill. Spirit still has his Dragon Rage kick away, but actually kicks away Kayn in this fight just because he thinks about SDYZ completely assassinated by the Gnar in this situation. And World Elite, they just completely split against 4 members of EP fighting together. So it's solid team fighting from EP and a bit of an overreach coming out from World Elite.
Yeah, World Elite still with an advantage. Spirit managing to steal away that red buff after everything was said and done. But you have to think that the Safeguard and the Stand Behind Me coming through has to be a slight communicational error as they swapped positions there and may have been able to let them get out of that one A-okay.
We've talked about League of Legends geometry before, Atlas. Sometimes
it's confusing.
Sometimes it's a bit confusing, the angles that we see there, but it did put World Elite in a really precarious position. They had to commit to that fight with how they were positioned.
Yeah, and STYZ taking an auto attack reset there from the Ricochet. Kayn not doing too badly behind 6 CS, but a difficult lane here for Civi, you could imagine. It's actually with an item advantage here as well.
He did pick up that kill in the fight there, so does have the extra pickaxe. I'm sure sitting on it's sitting on a pickaxe worth of gold here as S2YZ, but so many instant stats, even with that True Grip passive, going to be difficult for Graves to truly commit to a fight against this Sivir.
Yeah, and Spirit utilizing the fact that he's got a lot more pressure here in the jungle, going to be starting off this dragon in full vision, but they are going to be able to steal it away with no contest. Nice early moves here from WE to pick up that objective.
And it's not like EP have a weak mid-game comp here. They do have Sivir. Sivir has an item advantage. It's just a situation of Spirit isolating Drizzle. He got those early steals. He got the psychology, got in the face of Drizzle, and now he's trying to translate that into big map objectives. And very successfully so far. You could see that EP's jungler here, Drizzle, paying on the back foot, and their communication and decisiveness of rotations is really paying the price.
Oh, most definitely. And top lane now heading in the way of Amazing J just a little bit. Is Kayn going to clear out that ward? We'll see whether this Gnar can become huge because, of course, came into that last fight with a fantastic amount of rage, almost managing to transform as soon as he got into the fight. Exactly what you want to be doing on this Gnar. And has been looking great, of course. Amazing J being sort of one of the star players here for Energy Pacemaker, as we've seen over the last few weeks of the LPL.
He's gone for a lot of early magic resist, which makes sense. He's against a double AP comp right here. So while he won't stand up against the burst coming out from STYZ, in terms of the skirmishes, the 2v2 or the 3v3 but on the top side of the map, he's going to reign supreme with all this magic resistant damage.
Oh, most definitely. And that equalizer is just going to be tickling him as well, as it's actually going to be Spirit falling down to the Raptor camp. Raptor camps are very dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to be very, very careful when you're going up against those
I was staring at that icon, working out what exactly had been fallen to, but the Raptors in a competitive game, that's not a good look.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit of broken shot action going on this game, but I think he's going to be fine. Of course, you still keep your buffs. Everyone knows that the Raptors are way too strong, so they give you a little bit of leeway when you get executed by those jungle camps.
I mean, truly, the strategy with the Raptor camp is always to kill the small ones because they actually all do equal damage despite having different health bars. So you want to kill the small Raptors before going to the big one. And maybe that's a little factor that after that early start, after really going in front of Drizzle's face, taking that early dragon, a little bit too complacent, I guess.
Yeah, well, my tactic is just to never take the Raptor camp because it's just too scary. They do too much damage. But very even on the gold, even on kills. No turrets taken yet either. Energy Pacemaker staying up with World Elite after a difficult start. We'll see whether they can transition this into the mid-game effectively because, of course, that equalizer always fantastic, but you have to factor in that Gnar for the possible mass CC and lockdown.
And some of the momentum of this jungle pressure from Spirit is starting to show in the mid lane CS. It was about 15 to 20 CS early in the game. Now it's starting to get to the point where Ninja can instant clear waves. He needs perhaps a needlessly large rod to have truly the wave clearing pressure he wants. But he's starting to get there. It's only about 10 CS the difference in the mid lane. Yeah,
and what do you think about this Athene's Unholy Grail pickup that we've been seeing coming through to the LPL just recently, having seen that in our first game? Equalizer going to clear out this wave up top, but it's sort of been the Morellonomicon forever, and we haven't had a change of patch. What do you think the thinking is?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thought, of course, is the change of patches. We've seen that patch in other regions, but because we're still on 4.21 here, I guess it's just having a bit of access to the defensive stats. And in terms of sheer mathematics, the theory basically is that once you've spent more than 500 mana in a team fight, Athene's actually comes to the advantage in terms of mana regen. But when you're topping yourself up at maximum mana, that's where Morellonomicon works a lot better. So, of course, with that passive also, the 12% the 12% of maximum mana coming in on kills, there is the potential for Athene's to outshine a Morellonomicon. You just don't have quite the same damage potential, of course. Not the 80 AP coming out from that Morellonomicon. So there's definitely trade-offs on both sides right here, but it's still a solid pickup.
Yeah, so affording you a little bit more defensive opportunity as STYZ is just going to wait for this tower to kill as many minions as possible before he executes it. It's going to be traded, though, for a top lane outer turret here as well, so definitely great pressure coming through from Amazing J. But as you can see, outer turret in the bottom lane going to fall down as well. And that's sort of what you would expect, assuming these two matchups.
Yeah, it's just been a quiet game across the board here. The first turret's falling at the same exact time, the same kills. 400 gold and a dragon is the lead for World Elite. But this game is still very evenly poised.
Oh, most definitely. And we'll see whether Energy Pacemaker can contest for that second dragon. Of course, it is up to World Elite to deny the first dragon opportunity here, because that is arguably the most important. That movement speed also fantastic.
STYZ is also really building for the mid-game here. The Brutalizer second can be quite standard right here.
Oh, Drizzle face-checking the brush, and that's STYZ's assassination potential.
Yeah, so much burst coming out when you face-check a level 9 STYZ on that Graves. He has so much flat AD and armor penetration here that if they can keep this ward advantage up, it's going to be so risky for EP to check a brush.
Yeah, and that was the face-first buckshot as well. All three procs of it straight to the head of that Jarvan, and you just saw how much damage there was. Ooh, Aluka going to be teleporting. He gets walloped out of it, though. Unable to utilize that one as Amazing J's just going to go straight onto him. The equalizer just in the wrong place. Aluka trying to scrap shield himself away. Amazing J slowed a little bit by that one, but has another boulder. He's going to slow him down. The resets. There's another wallop. There's no tower, Aluka, but ooh, going to miss the boulder, and Amazing J may have to give up.
Yeah, he missed the ball there. It was a smart attempt to teleport by Amazing J. He noticed that he had no turret to run away to right there. A good cancel comes out, and of course, Dragon spawns in 30 seconds right here. It's a massive power advantage right here, knowing that Alucard's teleport is down. So maybe EP will be able to get the positioning, get the aggressive wards down, and try and claim this first dragon. Yeah,
not to mention the fact that that's the equalizer on cooldown now as well. And we have mentioned the fact that this Rumble does have his double magic penetration items, so that is going to be doing a lot of damage, but not if it's on cooldown.
Not if it's on cooldown. So we'll have to see an early rotation coming down from Alucard if they want to pick up this second dragon, or maybe give it up and let EP take it, which, to be honest, with the way the game's gone, it'll be a massive boon to be able to pick up this early dragon, because they've been so stymied out of their own jungle. There've been good aggressive wards coming down from World Elite consistently in this early game. For them to lose the second dragon will be a big loss.
Oh, most definitely. Plus, this sort of mid-game comp really wants to be utilized in order to get those, and if Energy Pacemaker managed to sneak away this dragon, then things could go very badly for World Elite as we get into these later game stages where Amazing J is going to be unkillable, Drizzle's going to be the CC bot with amazing zone control. Things could get very, very scary, especially with this Syndra possibly powering up.
There's a lot of similar power troughs and peaks between two teams. I wouldn't say one is like the clear winner in the late game, but you're right. If the Gnar gets to the tankiness point where you can ignore the equalizer and just completely zone out the carries here, specifically the short-range Graves, just eat that buckshot first and be able to take her out and do the rest of his damage, then I think that EP might be able to take it in the late game. But you look down this World Elite lineup, Xerath in the late game we've seen consistently has been on the winning side of games in the LPL.
Yeah, Amazing J throwing a boulder over the wall here, has transformed into that Mega Gnar, has the flash available, thought he might want to actually flash over that wall and get a Gnar into it, but decides not to go overly aggressive as Energy Pacemaker just trying to consolidate vision around this dragon area. As we were talking about before, very important.
So they have some good defensive pings down. It's very difficult for World Elite to face check these brushes. That's why we see them pushing out the mid lane here. They have prime position to take their first dragon, but they don't want to swap it for mid turret.
Yeah, and especially not when Amazing J transforming back into his little form. Boomerang not going to find its mark, and SDYs are going to clear out this pink ward here as well, utilizing their own. So World Elite wrestling back some control.
I mean, the push and shove about this dragon is really, really subtle right here. They're both trying to get the best position on the enemy. You see Amazing J has a lot of rage already. He doesn't want to cap it out and transform early into Mega Gnar, otherwise their team fight will be significantly weaker. He's already committed to it here. So, I mean, World Elite, they might engage.
Yeah, right of the Arcane to come through. Nice footwork by Raphael and a decent shield coming through from that Lantern as well as Shu. Going to get them away, and Energy Pacemaker pick up their first dragon, almost uncontested here.
World Elite was so split that they didn't send 5 members middle and try and swap that for the mid turret either. They're trying to pick him off, and there comes the Equalizer.
Equalizer in a decent position here, but it's just going to zone Energy Pacemaker away from their tower. The minion's not quite available, though, so can't really get there to finish that one off, and you can see still on about a quarter health, and Raphael has plenty of wave clear, especially with Kayn.
After such a decisive first 19 minutes or so, they were very indecisive about how to capitalize on that dragon. We saw Spirit was completely split from his team, looking to see if they were going to engage around dragon. There's 2 members around mid that were pushing in the lane, but weren't committing to pushing in the inner turret, the inhibitor, sorry, the outer turret right there in the mid lane. And so they got none of the objectives there and basically gave a completely free dragon to EP.
Yeah, and this is exactly what EP need as well, considering their team comp, considering what they want to be doing. And STYZ and Ninja, they're going to be able to take down this outer turret. Just really nice aggressive rotations to come through from World Elite.
They are finally able to get that turret they worked so hard of. There's only 1 outer turret left for World Elite to claim up the top lane here. But this immovable Gnar is not going to be an easy man to push through.
Oh, most definitely not. Does have that Banshee's Veil available as well with the Ninja Tabi, of course. With Elixir of Iron coming through as well, a lot of Ninja Tabis have been sort of the boots of choice for these tanks.
Especially on this early patch where the Elixir of Iron is really finely tuned. It's a very big pickup, level 9 onwards. And so that's why we've seen it consistently. We even saw Crystal picking up the Elixir of Iron on Draven. It gives you a lot of statistics for the price, and it's very slot efficient because, of course, it doesn't use an item slot, but gives you that tenacity and other defensive stats to really justify its cost.
Oh, most definitely. And you don't need, you're not forced to build those Mercury's threads if you don't need to, and you can utilize that extra single target spell reduction and auto attack reduction it is on that Ninja Tabi. So not too bad at all coming through from Amazing J. And You mentioned this before, but he's got so much magic resist, and now building towards that Randuin's now going to have that added tankiness of that item as well.
Let's take a step back and assess how we've gone the first 22 minutes. We were complementing World Elite's early moves, and it looked great in the first 10, 20 minutes of the game. But with that second dragon, the question I have for World Elite that I want them to answer this game is, are they at the level to communicate clearly what they want to do in a team fight? You look down here, we want to see the Braum ultimate into the line damage ultimate from Rumble, into all the damage coming out from Ninja and STYZ. You can see what a perfect team fight looks like. So much burst available right there. But there's a lot of mobility on EP's side, and if they're able to team fight very correctly, if they don't have more than one carry clumped on each other, will World Elite be able to get the fight they're looking for is my question.
Descent's going to go wide there, but Boomerang going to find its mark onto both of the members of WE in this mid lane. Ricochet coming through. As we have a look at the AD carries, Static Shiv almost finished up on top of that Infinity Edge for Kayn, but a bit of a scuffle here in the mid side as that pink is going to be cleared out. And in answer to Kayn, STYZ, he's finished off his Ghost Blade. He's got a huge spike in these two items.
In any 1v1 or 2v2, that is a massive graze right there. His trading is going to be so strong. He's going to get those extra autos in with the burst of speed from the Yomu's Ghost Blade passive. So he's massive right here. It's just in an extended team fight, if they're able to kite out that 6 seconds of power that the Yomu's provides, in a longer team fight, the stats available from the Yomu's will pale compared to the Static Shivs. So definitely clearly peaks and troughs for World Elites versus EP's 80 carries right there. But again, if STYZ can really trade on that Yomu's passive, going to have a massive burst of power.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that, you know, they want to be getting a lot of that damage down really quickly while the members of Energy Pacemaker are on that equalizer, while the burst damage coming through from Ninjas coming out, all of that stuff. So having this sort of extra burst is really going to be useful here for STYZ. I like the pickup. Of course, fairly standard on Graves in general, but works great in this comp.
I mean, the 20 armor penetration that comes out from that upgraded Brutalizer, basically, is going to be so powerful because we look down the EP lineup. At this point, there's only a single cloth armor completed in terms of armor items right here. So the armor values are very low on EP's side. So the mid-game collateral damage, once he pings 11, he's already level 12, in fact, is going to be huge.
Yeah, Drizzle is only just about to start building his defensive items, and you have to think against double AP here in Xerath and Rumble, he probably wants to build some magic resist.
It's all about burst though on WE's side. That's kind of the big issue here, is that if they can't line up their AoEs, if they don't really smartly use their cooldowns, or if there's just a really important Sivir ultimate, because of course so much utility coming out from that Sivir ultimate, if they can maneuver themselves away from the equalizer, for example, very good potential that EP can win a team fight.
Yeah, and very important item pickup to come through here as well. Luca now has that Zhonya's Hourglass as well, so it can be more of a frontline Rumble as STYZ going to be starting off this blue buff, handing that one over to Ninja. But Aluka, with that teleport available as well, with this Dragon coming up in under a minute, looking fantastic on this Rumble in order to make an impact on this map.
And look, we always focus on the double magic penetration items being completed for Rumble just because that makes the equalizer super powered. But I think we probably should talk a little bit about the 1-2 punch of the Zhonya's there, because Rumble with those 2 magic penetration items, okay, his ultimate can be devastating, but of course it's a line skill shot. It can be flashed off, it can be dodged. There are situations where it doesn't come off as planned. The ability to get in the back line and overheat with your Flame Spitter running, and then it's got the stasis from the Zhonya's, also makes Rumble a really strong frontliner. So he has both strings to his bow right now. He can be in the front line, he can call the artillery in from the range. So, I mean, Luca's very, very strong right here, and Rumble could be a huge deciding factor in the next fight.
Yeah, but Randuin's Omen being completed by Amazing J here as well does have the answering teleport available, doesn't have any rage on him at the moment as he rotates around to try and contest this Dragon. Second one is being started up here by World Elite, but Drizzle is available. Might go for the steal, doesn't manage to. Spirit's going to take that one away in quick fashion. The equalizer to start things off, it's beautifully placed here as well. Right of the Arcane onto so many members. Nice spell shield from Kayn. Blocks one of the bolts, and Energy Pacemaker successfully disengaged, but they may not be in the clear just yet.
And we see high health values on a lot of the carries right here, so they need to be careful. If Gnar can build up Rage and EP re-engages, some really important cooldowns down for World Elite. They do not want to pick a fight against this Gnar.
Yeah, and Raphael down so incredibly low at this stage as well. Amazing J about to build up into that Mega Gnar form, wants to try and find that stun, but the rest of his team backing off here as Raphael is forced to get out of there. Drizzle as well. And Nicer zoning around that Dragon from World Elite, and they pick up their second.
but you see a lot of the damage there. For example, the equalizer was mostly used for its CC element. It wasn't used for pure damage. They got some good chunking on a single member, but if that's the recurring theme of this game, if we see a lot of fights where they're forced to use the equalizer preemptively just to engage, then it's going to be an issue for World Elite because they don't have a lot of other damage abilities to supplement that really big front-loaded burst.
And Amazing J looking to try and build this rage yet again, starting off this blue buff. Spirit does manage to snag a little one, but not going to go in for that. And top outer turret easily going to fall down here for World Elite.
And they're also able to hold onto their blue buff very importantly here. Of course, Athene's Unholy Grail, like we said, does lose out to Merlonomicon when you're at high mana values right here. And of course, Syndra's always going to look to be poking, always wants to have as much mana up as possible. So keeping up that blue buff, defending the blue buff here could be critical, because it's always that second run of stuns. Of course, we always remember the engage plays coming out of a Syndra, but once all the balls are out there from the scatter they make from the ultimate, and you can put out that second stun, that massive AoE potential for the stun, can be just as powerful.
Oh, it certainly can. And we were talking about this bottom lane earlier on. A 20 CS lead has now happened here for Kayn. Does, of course, have his 2 items as well. This Sivir, sort of unbeknownst to us a little bit, has been scaling up throughout this game. That on the hunt going to be very important for getting Amazing J and Drizzle into these fights. And if he's got the damages, Sonic Wave is going to be traded for that death sentence. Nothing that can come from it.
He's just been able to spend his gold. So he actually has a BF sword up on STYZ, who has money for a BF sword, but isn't able to pick it up here. So the items might be in the advantage of EP.
Yeah, there's actually, oh my goodness, shoot, doing a stand behind me whilst getting death sentence. That was a fun little interaction. But there's the flash into the flag and drag. The Cataclysm to come through as well. It's a nice equalizer in response, and Drizzle's getting torn apart. UJ's going to fall down first, though, and the flash coming through from Aluka. He's going to die. Managed to use his Zhonya's before. Spirit is now on the ropes and running. Energy Pacemaker with a beautiful fight.
I cannot wait to see the replay there, Alex, because it was wonderful positioning from EP. You pointed out it was Drizzle burning down, but he was the only person sitting in that equalizer. They spread out so well, did EP there, that there was no consistent AoE coming down from World Elite. SDYZ wasn't freshly shopped. He didn't have his BF sword up. He was almost irrelevant that fight, and they're trying to DPS down Baron, but Spirit, he's pretty healthy.
He's actually gone in onto Amazing J here. He's incredibly low. The flash from Amazing J manages to get up before the resonating strike, and the Baron's going to fall down as well after everyone almost gets taken down by Spirit, with mostly an assist from Baron.
Yeah, Spirit tried to get the historic last, but we're going to see a replay of this fight, and we're going to have to watch the positioning in the fight, which really shows why EP won this fight. So there's a lot of poking. The stun came onto UJ, but they weren't going to engage at this point. But you see Drizzle, look, he just has that rush of blood, and he does the go button with the flash right here. The flash, flag, and drag into the ultimate. The Rumble Equalizer is so quickly moved away from right here. It's only burning down the super tanky Drizzle. Then Amazing J with the flank in the backline. So much CC coming out. The team splits away, and that's where EP's comp really comes to the advantage. Once they can split World Elite away right there, once they get through the front-loaded burst, they will win this fight with this sheer mobility.
Yeah, and especially coming from that on the hunt from Kayn as well. You saw the extra movement speed that Energy Pacemaker had. That equalizer, they sort of took a brief pause, moved out of the way, and then kept engaging. And with that extra speed, able to catch up to World Elite and really get things going. But you mentioned Amazing J, and we were talking him up earlier on, and he's been fantastic getting those flanks. 3-1 and 3 now.
It was a wonderful flank, but I have to wonder, where were the wards on the flanks from World Elite right there? To get flanked like that was a surprise to me. I just wasn't expecting to see a Mega Gnar in the backline, but it happened. So World Elite need to be a bit more consistent with their warding right here. They have double sidestone. They do have the wards to be able to put out right there. They just let them lapse.
They did, and they may actually lose a bottom outer turret here as well, as the inner turret's under fire from the creeps in this middle lane as well. Very, very low on health, and World Elite still moving aggressively around this map, but you have to think that after that last fight, must be a little bit more scared of what could potentially come from Energy Pacemaker.
I guess one advantage is that if they're going to fight around the dragon, they have the cooldown here, of course. It's going to be up in about 50 seconds. If they can get the equalizer in more of a contained area like the enemy jungle, maybe they'll be able to get spread it onto more members. But in a situation like that in the open, that's where we see the Rumble pick starting to struggle, because it just had nowhere near the impact that the Gnar in the backline did.
Yeah, and Kayn actually has finished off his Bloodthirster now as well in response to SDYZ's Last Whisper. Sorry, I almost completely forgot what a very common item's name was just because of other things happening in this game. Raphael going to throw out an orb, and Spirit not going to be able to clear out the double pink wards in that brush. Definitely want vision of that one, Papa.
But they do have some aggressive wards around the backside of the dragon right here, so they will know if World Elite start the dragon. World Elite just trying to get a pick here. They want to get some poke on, but they don't have a lot of pick engage apart from the Braum, so it's difficult for them to engage a fight. They want a face check.
Yeah, Amazing J looking to try and give them what they want here as well. There's a nice set of skill shots to come through onto Amazing J, but he's pretty tanky. He doesn't worry about it too much.
He has half rage here as well, so he was quite happy to face it there. He got some extra rage. And EP, they're making the rotational move here. They're going to push down the mid lane.
Yeah, and especially with Amazing J at this level of rage as well, things looking good. Nice Arcano Pulse onto Drizzle, chunks him down just a little bit. But this inner turret is under fire, and World Elite in a rough position. They take the turret to Energy Pacemaker, and they're forcing World Elite to play their game.
With the very fast Bloodthirster and the ability to use the Ricochet to cancel the auto, a lot of damage coming to these turrets from Sivir right here, and completely out of position still at World Elite.
Yeah, nice equalizer to come through to get them off that turret, but Spirit's getting destroyed. Drizzle picks up that kill with a Cataclysm. UJ, he gets walloped as well. Going to stand behind his friend to get him the heck out of that one, and with the jungler down, this has to mean Dragon now for Energy Pacemaker.
The consistent factor in this fight has been this now, controlling so much space, even without having to get the initiation ultimate to come out right there. Amazing J, this tanky frontliner, there's no way for World Elite to blow through him. Graves actually has a lot of issue busting tanks, just like Sivir. And Amazing J up the front is a polar opposite compared to Spirit and Aluka in the front line for World Elite. And World Elite are just getting zoned by the sheer tanky force of Gnar. And of course, they had the first pick. They could have taken the Gnar.
They could have, and Aluka has been playing a heck of a lot of Gnar as well, and this Rumble has left a little to be desired, you have to admit. I mean, using that equalizer was, you know, to fairly good effect, but wasn't enough, especially not at this stage of the game.
It's a question of whether the equalizer is layered upon to another seed. It's why we see so much Rumble Jarvan, because you're kind of priced in to spend 3, 4, 5 seconds sitting on that fiery ultimate if your flash is down from the Cataclysm. But in this case, they're trying to use the Rumble ultimate as an initiation tool, and that 35% slow and all the mobility on EP's side, they're easily moving away from that ability, and it's just negating the equalizer, one of the most game-changing abilities in the game.
Yep, nice ward placement over the wall there by Shu. It's going to spot out the little gank brush set up here by World Elite, and they're going to have to step away, tails between their legs, as Energy Pacemaker now start to push once again up this mid lane. They're pinging out onto that inhibitor turret, but I think it might be the inner turret on the bottom side of the map that they've really got their hearts set on.
Yeah, they've got multiple lane wars to EP here, so they can always try and outmaneuver World Elite. If World Elite are ever looking for a flank, they have that aggressive movement, those aggressive wards to know when they can safely push down mid and try to get a positional advantage on World Elite. They've managed it once or twice, first with the flank, then with the ability to push down the turrets with Sivir, and it's worked for them very well in the first 35 minutes of this game.
It has. This wave is about to get to the turret as well. Energy Pacemaker looking to set up a siege. And you have to think that if Aluka uses that equalizer again to clear off this wave, that's going to give Energy Pacemaker a go button to get themselves in here. Amazing J doesn't have the rage, and this is what Energy Pacemaker have been fantastic at doing. I mean, when he isn't available as that Mega Gnar, they just don't engage. They wait until they can have that huge tanky frontliner, and then they get the work done. Spirit popping a ward over the side there, but you can see not too much going to go on as Energy Pacemaker still respecting World Elite.
So in the top lane, there's a very slow push that's been coming in for a long time here by World Elite. We see about 4 to 5 minion waves grouped and are going to push onto this inner turret. So they've had to back off of EP. But you do get to see the difference when Sivir is auto-attacking a turret without any enemies protecting it, and when they out-rotate the enemy team. So when they out-rotate the enemy team, able to get so much a burst of damage onto the turret, they took those 2 mid-turrets. But when you're a 500 range AD carry trying to take down a turret in a 5v5 setting, it's totally different.
Oh, nice scout of the week to come through. Stuns up a couple of members of World Elite, but Tencent's not going to be followed up on either, as Energy Pacemaker just defend this very, very damaged inner turret.
So we had such a lull in the mid-game here. Things are moving very, very slowly as both teams are a bit afraid to push their advantages beyond what their comps allow them to here. We've still got quite a significant 8,000 gold lead that's come through for EP right here, but they've shown a lot of difficulties transitioning good early mid-game performance into a late-game decisive victory. I did like their push down middle. It looks like they're going to try and bait the Baron.
Yeah, this is a little bit being their Achilles heel on the side of Energy Pacemaker, not quite managing to close out these victories and sometimes making the Mistakes at the end to hand that one over. Ooh, they are setting this one up. Tencent's onto Spirit, though. He's going to get eliminated immediately. And look at the Nada come through. Spirit finally dies. UJ's dead as well. And Ninja's gone down solo. Oh, shoot. Just missing the death sentence as the Ignite is just not enough on Ninja.
Yeah, Spirit felt the pressure to face check right there. Got his wish and died instantly. Once again, the equalizer from Aluka doing very, very little right there. So hard for the equalizer to do much without any setup CC for it. You can always visualize the best case scenario of the Braum ultimate into the Rumble ultimate, but that's never been able to come out here. And it makes sense. Braum is in the backline looking to peel for the short-range Graves. He's not in the front line able to get an initiation ultimate to help Aluka.
Yeah, and Kane actually going to give up on helping out this Baron. That one's going to be taken easily here, secured by Amazing J. And seems like this turret not going to fall either.
Yeah, Amazing J has to rotate back to the bottom lane here. Going to push it out slowly. The minion waves from W4D1 have been very good. They've been in good positions and forced EP from getting a decisive advantage. But this is the second Baron buff here. This is the buff where I'd expect EP to really push their advantage and try and finish out this game. With the items they've got completed, some huge item pickups for both their carries. The Last Whispers and Void Staffs completed. EP are in a good position, and they could even dive because they have such a tanky front line. Now we've even got a Warmog's Armor completed on Jarvan to complement all the tanky stats on this Gnar.
Yeah, and Kane, I mean, he's 1,500 gold away from a 6-item Sivir here as well. He's monstrous on this AD carry. 3-1-7, had a great game so far. And he's very immovable as well. I mean, with that Spectre's Cowl and the shield coming through from the Bloodthirster, and I mean, not that much damage coming down from World Elite, you have to say, with a lot of their long-range abilities, and he's had a great game.
EP have realized that with the short-range Sivir, they're not realistically going to be able to poke down a turret in a 5v5 situation. What the double Warmog's Armor, now even the Thorn Mail completed on Gnar suggests to me is that EP realize they're going to have to turret dive and they're going to pull the trigger soon. We saw Drizzle instantly pulling the trigger with the Flash, Flag, and Drag that won them their first fight that swung this game. We're going to see a different flavor on the turret very soon.
Oh, yeah, and you can see World Elite, they're not posturing around this inner turret. Spirit's trying to push out this mid lane, wanting to make sure that Energy Pacemaker don't have any easy rotations to get a couple of inhibitors here with this Baron buff, but you can see he's forced to back away as well as Energy Pacemaker have really pulled the trigger trying to get to this turret. And with these Baron buff minions, it's going to take that turret a while to get through here as the Siege minion is just shooting it from Rage. Amazing J, he does not care at all.
No, it's just so tanky. Both the front lines are super tanky, and again, it puts the spotlight on just how squishy this World Elite front line is. While Rumble can do impressive damage in the back line when he activates the stasis, he's not a Lissandra. He doesn't have 5 seconds of untargetability like that Lissandra, right? That's just a different flavor of champion. He doesn't have the CC to back up his frontline status. So when his team's winning, it's such a big boon to be able to go in the back and do a large burst of damage. But in this case, his team is losing fights, and the Equalizer and Rumble in general has done very little. On the Hunt's actually pumped, though.
Yeah, it has been popped here on the bottom side of the map. STYZ forced to use that Ghost Blade just to get him some extra movement speed, get him out of there. And Shu going to clear out these wards here as well. Energy Pacemaker looking for a way in, but World Elite defending admirably so far.
Looks like they're going to have a very slow minion wave push in the top lane, which may eventually help themselves out, but they have this Baron buff. They should be looking for a dive very soon. All their members are healthy, and I have to think that's going to come up.
It could be coming through. Arcano Pulse trying to clear out these waves, but with these minions with so much more health, you have to think that it's just going to be the turret destroyed, and that's happened. Kane going to be taking down this inhibitor as well. They don't want to really pull this trigger as far as getting some kills are concerned, but they'll happily take that inhibitor for free. Oh, Equalizer. They're trying to turn this one around. The right of the Arcane to come through as well. A lot of damage. Raphael almost falls down. It's a nice face of the mountain in order to stop him from dying in Spirit. Trying to chase this one through. Amazing J about to transform, but Energy Pacemaker get out with their lives.
Yeah, once they've used that big Rumble ultimate for initiation right there, they just don't have any other long-range CC to force a fight. At any point, Kane can just pop that ultimate and they can disengage. And that's kind of the downfall of World Elite's comp right here. They're going to try and brute force this inner turret. They'll get it quite easily. But I mean, it does feel like an 11th versus 12th game. We have to be realistic here, Atlas. Both teams just aren't being the decisive League of Legends that we've seen. The games have been finishing at 28 to 35 minutes here, but both teams are just a bit gun-shy on pulling out those really decisive engages.
Yeah, an Energy Pacemaker with a 10,000 gold lead, you have to think that, I mean, if Amazing J can get in anywhere with that Gnar ultimate, I mean, that could be a 1-5, but we'll see whether World Elite can actually capitalize on this passive play coming through from Energy Pacemaker, because they've got a lot of seasoned veterans on this team, as we've mentioned many times.
Yeah, Ninja's only going to get stronger on Xerath. Obviously has so much range on that champion. He's about an item or so behind his opponent right here. Very good CS, we have to say. But it's just a question of when will Amazing J pull the trigger. He's going to have the transform coming through now. He has the flash. He's in the position to go in and have a very aggressive Nara ultimate and win them the fight. He's got to pull the trigger. Yeah,
and they've taken the inner turret in the top side of the map. Baron buff has worn off, and that's going to mean Energy Pacemaker just back off and maybe wait until the next Baron. Wait until they've got 5 dragons. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do before they actually make a move and really get something done, because you have to think that as soon as they win a team fight, this game's over.
I mean, both teams just look uncomfortable in a position where they're winning in the late game, and to be honest, you look at their records, 11 losses and 1 win. It's not a familiar spot for either of them here, so maybe it's a bit of a learning experience on how to clear up a game, but it's the decisiveness that separates a team like EDG, who we saw out in the Rift in Series 1, making the decisive moves, getting the aggressive wards down, and rotating and playing well. And you look at the minimap here, they have good warding, they have good aggressive warding right here. They've taken the 2 Baron buffs. With the comp that they have, they're not made for turret pushing. They need to dive, and I don't know how many more tanky items Amazing J can pick up before he realizes that he's the go button. He's the one that needs to get in there and start this fight.
Well, considering his 6 item slots, there are 0 more items that he can pick up, of course. That more of Malmortius has been finished as well, and Amazing J, he's not going to get any tankier than this. His Death Sentence is going to land onto Spirit, but Shu not wanting to go over that wall.
They're actually opting into a split push here, which again, just a little bit bizarre given how tanky this Nara is. Of course, he can do range damage onto the turret here, but they've already got the minion wave pushing, and the super minions are pushing in the mid lane here. They're going to commit to the split push as far as I can tell, but it's so hard for them to DPS down a turret. UJ on this Braum can stand in the front, activate Unbreakable, so much damage is soaked up there. They're just having a lot of trouble hitting that inhibitor structure.
Yep, and they're deciding that they've seen the fact that this Baron's back up in another 50 seconds. All going to head back to base, pick up some more items, and then head over there. The Banshee's Veil completed here for Kane was completed a little while ago. So he's 6 items on this Sivir, but of course hasn't picked up any more kills since we last mentioned it. This game, as you mentioned, very slow.
Very slow here. The next Baron comes up in 25 seconds. World Elite have finally pushed out of their base, so maybe that will be the go button for Amazing J and the team right here. They're going to try and get some wards. They know Baron is up soon. They have position on Baron, but they don't have the defensive wall coverage to really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was China. It's feeling a little bit like North American LCS at this stage.
Harsh words there, Atlas. Harsh words.
Yeah, well, they have to understand the gravity of the situation here, Papa Smithy.
So, yeah, we're waiting for the big decisive play right here. Is it going to be an individual outplay? I have to think it's Amazing J. It's not going to be a transform. He's already in the Mega Gnar here.
Ooh, Descent's just going wide there as well, as the ball's going to be thrown in amongst everything. Volcano Pulse not going to find any marks.
The minion waves in both top and bot are pushing pretty aggressively right here. It's hard to tell which break is going to advantage in the bottom lane. Maybe it's going to be World Elite's wave pushing out, but they should have the advantage in the top lane. Are they going to DPS down this Baron? The Baron hasn't been the key to unlocking the base for the first 2 times. The second one especially should have been the go button for EP. They're going for a third, but Spirit, this could be a 50-50.
Yeah, it could be. Does actually not find the Baron there with the Sonic Wave. Amazing J about to transform here as well, trying to throw some boomerangs in to get some procs off in order to become huge. Wants to delay it just a little bit in case World Elite do come back through. Winter's Bite not going to find anyone in that rush either. UJ looking to be that frontline. Spirit does get caught up here as well. Shu coming through. There's the box. Equalizer in a nice spot by Aluka, and he's now burning people down. SCYZ takes down Shu. Amazing J's now in the backline with Mega Gnar flashing over, getting the wall-ups. SCYZ is struggling to find the targets, but Drizzle's dead already to follow Shu to the Death Chamber. Spirit's now very, very low. Kane, he's in amongst it, destroying the members of World Elite, and with 3 dead, you have to think this could be game.
Finally a decisive fight there from EP, but it was a lot closer than you would have expected given the comps at 45 minutes. Finally, a massive equalizer comes out from Aluka. It was burning 2 priority targets right there. It was such a long, drawn-out fight, though. And finally, I mean, you look at EP's comp, it pays off just because they're so tanky that all this consistent damage is shrugged off by all the magic resist armor and health on their front line. Their front line lived, and Kane could clean up in the back.
Yeah, Amazing J took, about 400 health from that one. This guy is so huge on this Gnar. Now transforming yet again. Aluka and Spirit trying desperately to defend their base. The first Nexus turret is going to fall down, and look at the damage from Kane. The double stun to come through. Amazing J picks up some well-deserved kills. They're going to finish off the last turret. and the Nexus, and Energy Pacemaker finally pull the trigger and finish the game.
Yeah, the key word there is finally, Atlas. They were in the position to finish that game for a good 10 to 15 minutes. We got a game, we were hoping for a really competitive game, an explosive one. It ended up being more of a slugfest than we expected. I mean, but it makes sense. The lower place teams, they have less experience closing out games, and it really showed here. A 47-minute game that could have been over at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, and the thing is that we could look at here as well is it may not necessarily be the experience that's the problem. It could be the confidence. As we have a replay, let's just have a look at exactly how these teams were fighting one another.
All right, so we'll cue the replay right here. It's a very early fight. Of course, this is the second dragon. This was after they'd already stolen the first red buff. So it's the second red buff. Nicely smited away by Spirit, but when they do that swap around in position, they kind of have to fight right here. UJ's completely out of position. They go for the initiation here, knowing that the first person to react is STYZ, and they do burn down Drizzle, but this is a position where the Equalizer is smart, and Raphael is the first to react from the mid lane. Here, they're doing so much damage. Amazing J is able to hold it down, and this is when EP finally got their first chance of getting back into the game. Ninjas are able to get back, so while it wasn't a super bloodthirsty fight, that was the first step, and EP finally managing to wrestle control, because that first 7 minutes, the 3 buff start from Spirit, the early Dragon, it set up the game. It should have been World Elite, pushing on from there, monopolizing the Dragons, but they gave away a lot with that invade.
Yeah, and that's that second Dragon that came up, Energy Pacemaker, managing to pick that one off as well, really helped them get back into that game, and then it was the snowball of those team fights that was really beautiful. But they are going to be playing each other one more time on the Rift. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with World Elite taking on Energy Pacemaker for Game 2.